Hello, nerdy romantics. Today we are talking You, Me, and Tuscany, a rom-com movie that, as of this recording, is now streaming and was in the theater for not long enough, in my opinion, but we will talk about it. And we're going to talk about some other stuff too. So that means we are probably going to spoil this one, y'all. So, spoiler alert. Stay tuned and discuss with. This is the Nerdy Romantics Podcast, and I'm your host, Y.M. Nelson. How we doing, everybody?
Wonderful.
Good.
All right, so today I have Marcie, my recurring guest and friend, and new to the podcast, but not new to me, friend Millard, we actually went and saw this one together. So I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Oh, how did you find this? Was it me? Or what? How did you find this movie? First expectations.
All right. I didn't go into the movie with many expectations. I saw some of the previews of it, and it looked like a traditional or classic rom-com. And, it was just with black leads. And so that's what I was looking for, and that's what I got. So it was a fun time.
All right. Okay. So, Marcie, how did you find this movie? Did you know it was out before it got to the theaters? What was going on there?
I feel like I found it on Instagram because I started seeing little clips of their interviews leading up to it. I feel like I had heard about that Halle Bailey was doing a rom com, but I don't know that I knew
Yeah.
what it was. And then I saw the things and I was like, oh yeah, she's doing that rom com. And then like Millard, I didn't go in with any expectations really. More just wanted to support the film in theaters. And I thought it was what it said it was. It was a cute little rom com. I laughed. I enjoyed it. It was a cute little rom com.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of echo that a little bit and say yes. The first time I heard about it was on Threads, actually. So, yeah, still on social media, but I was on Threads. I saw the poster first, and then I like Threads tends to do, especially in my algorithm. I got my algorithm nice and curated.
But what does it tend to do?
I tend to get people who are a little bit vocal about things, like very opinionated about things, and specifically about the fact that this was a movie with two black leads and it was getting no marketing.
Hmm.
And then on the other side of that, there was another kind of conversation going on. The fact that the success of this particular movie was determinant of them making another movie that a writer and director had already made. And she was actually talking about this on Threads. She had already made this movie and she was shopping the movie around for a studio for somebody to distribute it, and they were like, wait and see what this movie does. And that kind of angered me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm old enough to remember the 90s when we had so many black rom-coms in the theaters. They got so much
Hmm.
love and they got marketing, and there were a lot of them around, and they continued into the early 2000s. And the fact that they didn't even take into account that there was such a big market already there, that they were waiting for this movie to do something. I then asked Millard, I said, "You want to go see a movie with me?"
I I agree with you that I thought that was weird, especially coming off the heels of the success of
Yes.
Sinners. I couldn't figure out why they thought that a movie with black leads would not
Right.
be successful, regardless of the genre. Just we had just proven that that kind of content will sell, and I was very confused too why one thing would hinge on another. I mean, I think our viewership of programming on streaming services
Yes.
also supports that that's true. So I think it's weird that any room would have that kind of requirement still about producing another film, given, I don't know, just historically and especially recently, an all black film or a black led film had been doing so well. It was very confusing. And that's not even like seeing Tiana Taylor in
Battle after another.
one
Yeah.
one something after another, like one batter after another, like having seen that many, and those are also not like typical movies. That was not a typical genre. So I really was confused why there was a question as to
Right.
whether or not not just that this film would be viewed, but that something else should be made.
Right. You know,
I agree.
that bothered me. And it bothered me on the level
Hmm.
of, because it's two black leads, it bothered me on that level. And then it also bothered me on a rom-com level because they've just been having
Hmm.
this particular, actually not just been having this conversation, but I mean, Reese Witherspoon just went over all of this not 10 years ago, talking about in the 90s, there was a bunch of rom com movies, not just black rom com movies, but rom com movies in general that got
Hmm.
a lot of buzz.
Yep.
Rom coms, you know,
Yep.
for a varied audiences, right? That got a lot of buzz and actually
Hmm.
I think drove a lot of the numbers because back in those days our blockbuster hits were not coming out of Marvel Studios, right? Marvel Studios didn't even
Right,
have any,
and
exactly. Marvel
not at that
Studios
pace.
didn't even have anything in the
Hmm.
90s. They had sold all their stuff, and like X-Men was a Fox product, or yes, Fox. And
Yep.
so anyway, I had issues with that, and so I was like, I'm going to put my theater dollars behind this. As a black woman
Yep.
who writes romance and wants to see more black women on the screen and romantic leads, and just as a romance writer who wants to see more rom-coms like we used to have. Like, I don't understand why we don't have the cutesy feel
Hmm.
good movies on the theater screens anymore.
Exactly. And so I, like you, I made it a mission to see it the first weekend it was out, to put my theater dollars behind it so that I could show that support, so that we could say yes, we will come, and yes, we will watch these kinds of movies, because I think it's dumb that the question had to be asked, but I think it I felt led, I felt really strongly urged
Yeah.
to be one of the people that answered a yes. And so regardless of anything else, I was going to go see it. But you know me, and I don't watch spoilers, so I didn't want to know
Hey.
anything more than you, me, and Tuscany. I didn't want to know anything else. So I didn't watch any of the trailers, and I didn't watch any of the interviews where they talked anything about the
Yeah.
movie itself.
Yep.
But I wanted to put my
I'm
support and my
going to
dollars
be
behind it.
curious to see how much money the movie makes now that people can purchase it at home. Because I'm just wondering if there are people who didn't go out to the theater to see it for reasons of maybe not wanting to be seen, going into the theater to see it. You know, today in today's time,
or just didn't want to, because of the economic times, maybe just didn't want to spend the theater money for it. You know what I'm saying? So that's
well,
another
it's
thing.
higher.
Yeah.
It's higher now, though.
Especially if you're.
Yes. That was the other thing that I was going to talk about, right? So y'all, I mean, I wanted to, in preparation for this podcast episode, I wanted to see the movie again. So the first thing that I did, because we have been talking about this early in last month as of this recording, when we started talking about this, the movie had only been out for a month. So I went back to the theater listing to see if I could find it. And y'all, I could not even find it to see it again.
It went fast.
I was
It went
like,
fast.
now I understand we're coming up on the summer season, but we had at least another month before the big summer blockbuster movies came out. So it could have been in the theater for at least another 2 or 3 weeks. And when I saw that happened, I went back to Threads and I saw two things happen. The first was people were upset that they could not find the movie in the theater anymore, because by the time they had figured out, hey, I want to see this movie,
I
by the
heard
time
about
the
it.
buzz, right, exactly,
Right,
right,
because
by
the
the
buzz
time
was
the
low.
buzz had started and they go and look for the movie, it's not in their local theater. And most of us don't live in New York or LA to to get this movie, which it had basically just left all of the theaters except for in New York and LA. And the other thing that I saw was that it went to streaming. So of course I was like, oh, it went to streaming. Wonder who got it. Of course I'm thinking Netflix has it, right? Because they're rom-com city. I go, I look for it, and the price, like Millard was saying, or I might have cut you off, Millard, but the price was twice as much as it was for me to see it in the theater.
They do say that you get it for a whole 24 hours or 48 or something, so that justifies the higher price. But I agree with your point there that I mean, it was fast. It was really fast. I think, Miller, that we're not gonna see it in this space, but I think it's going to get another boost when it hits free streaming on like a Netflix
Right.
or a Paramount Plus. When it finally goes to free streaming, I feel like people who slept on it, and I think it's going to get new viewership there.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I was saying. That when people have access to be able to see it and not paying this, $20, $25 to see it, and they're gonna look at those numbers and
yep.
say, maybe we pulled it too soon. Because I think another reason they may have pulled it from the
Mhm.
theaters is that they wanted the seats for Michael, and there was another larger movie that was out there, and they were trying to get seats
Oh
because
yeah.
Michael actually left.
There
They
was.
pushed Michael out of some theaters to bring in some of these. I forgot what was the name of the movie that was supposed to have been a big movie, but it wasn't as big as they thought. And then so they pushed it out, and Michael came back.
Oh
So
Lord.
yes,
Is that how that happened? Because I did
yes,
see Michael leave,
yes,
and I was like, why is
right.
Michael gone? This movie has made $800 million worldwide. Like, why did they push this out of theater? Oh, they pushed it out for another movie that they thought was going to do something, and then it
Right.
didn't.
Right. This was before it had reached that level, though. Even though
Yeah,
it was much bigger when it opened,
yeah.
a couple weeks out, because of these other movies they thought were going to be big, they were like boosting them up. And then when it didn't, and that's how Michael ended up coming back and being number one again for another week. And
Oh,
so
wow.
that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Was it Hail
Oh,
Mary?
that one got a
That
lot
one
of
was already that
buzz.
was already that one was already out.
Was it?
Yeah, I think that was already out,
It
wasn't it?
was.
No,
I don't know. I'm
trying to
trying to figure out
remember.
what it was that might have been
Trying to
coming out at
remember
the
what
same
else was.
time.
This is just a theory, so I didn't try to
But
research.
that is a big movie.
I know. I mean, you're probably right that they. Hmm.
Hail Mary
No,
was
sci-fi
huge.
or
Was
something
supposed to
because they
be,
were
and
saying
Hail
that one of the
Mary
girls,
is
right?
sci-fi.
Hmm.
It's the next Andy Weir book. I'm trying to think of what the first one, the Martian Project. What was the first one? Oh, I don't
I
know if
can't
it
know
was
too much.
called the Martian Project, but it's the one where the dude is stranded on Mars. Like he gets out there, he's gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it's another Andy Weir book. And as somebody in sci-fi, I should probably,
The
was it
the
just The
Martian,
Martian?
the Martian, and the Martian, and then
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's probably the Martian.
So I
Yep.
think this one was supposed to be kind of like in that whole line. The Martian and maybe Artemis. But because I can't remember if Artemis is an Andy Weir or not. But I know the Martian is okay, okay.
It is.
So yeah, so
It is.
and
And they're not in the Hail Mary series
okay.
according to the way that it's created, but they're from the same author in the
Yeah,
same
right. Exactly.
space.
So I'm
In the
thinking
same
that they
genre.
thought
Yep.
that I'm thinking that's the one you're talking about, Millard. That is wild to me.
the
But yeah, this
devil, and what the Prada devil wears Prada
Oh, The Devil Wears
too.
Prada
The
2.
Devil Wears Prada
Yes,
2.
that came out May
Yeah.
1st, which is right after
Right.
this came out. Yes,
Yeah.
and it would
So,
garner
so,
very
Yep, The
much the
Devil Wears
same
Prada
audience.
2.
That's it. I
with
bet
that
you
and
that was
Michael
it.
were the two
Hmm.
larger ones, and they were trying to like gobble up seats for those two was the
Yep.
ones that I was thinking. That's why I thought
Yes.
about that, especially when
Yes,
I
that's
heard
probably
about
it.
yeah,
Yeah. And the target audience to me would
Yep.
be similar, you know.
definitely, definitely,
Would
definitely.
definitely be similar. Yeah.
And
So,
I think there was a
Hmm.
concerted effort on some people's parts to on social media to denigrate the movie.
yes.
Because I did see some reviews and stuff, and I was
Yeah.
like, why are they, mentioning these types of things when these aren't the things that they denigrate other movies for? And so I was like, yeah, no, not for me.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
I've noticed the incels are tend to do that, have been doing that for a while. We talked about it with Ironheart, how they talked so much junk before Ironheart even came out, and it's like there's no way
Hmm.
you could have seen it, right?
Hmm.
You're not one of the
Demographics,
screeners, right? They're not in the demographic, but they're also not one of the people who
Right.
were able to screen it beforehand. Not all those people, and they had already
Right. And you could tell
yes
because they were making crazy
weren't
assumptions
even
that weren't
true.
actually true in the actual series. So, yeah, yeah. I feel like social media has given people a license to espouse opinions on everything, regardless of the validity,
right?
and you can do it with a lot of anonymity. And I think that's a terrible
Yeah.
combination for people to just be mean spirited and to try to
Right.
disenfranchise people who are doing what they
Yeah,
can.
exactly. Again, maybe my algorithm is curated for it, but one thing that I didn't see on social media was them trying to say something bad about our black leads. Y'all, I just love the cuteness of these
Hmm.
characters. Oh, Halle, Halle Bailey, and
I
Halle
did.
Bailey as
I
Anna,
did.
and Reggae Jean Page as Michael. Yes, they are just cuteness. Oh, just
I
total
did.
cuteness together, and it was a little bit of that whole. I don't want to say enemies to lovers. They're not really enemies to lovers. More like
Right.
rivals to lovers kind of thing. A little bit more like I don't know, kind of
Rival
like
the sandwich.
But y'all, what did we think of these two as this cute rom com couple? Did we like it? Did we think they have chemistry? What did we think about them?
I did. They were believable. They were. You could buy that they would be attracted to each other. You could buy that they could fall in love, and I think that is one of the key parts of a rom com working is that you can buy that, and I think that they were very well paired, and that their chemistry together and how they played off one another was totally believable, and I think that is part of what helped sell the movie for me. I mean, I have
Okay,
another thought
about them
later.
together or about separately? About rom coms. Okay.
About rom coms.
I
All
also
right.
thought, oh,
Yeah, Miller, what you think?
I also thought that their chemistry was good and fun and lighthearted, and actually it was a progression. And I think that some
Hmm.
of the things that people are saying they didn't have the chemistry. I think they're looking at it because this movie was, I guess, what PG. So it wasn't that they were like hopping in the bed and all of that type of stuff like that. That level of that type of chemistry. It was more that intense chemistry through the eyes. Kind of like when they were close in their conversations and how it developed and how
Hmm.
Yes.
he really
Hmm.
sort of like saw into her soul, like when they were in the vineyard and drinking. And one of the quotes that they
Yes.
said in there was that in wine there is truth. And
Yes.
so I think that
Hmm.
that was indicative for me of how things played out, where they doing the wine and they opened up to each other, and that's when the sparks and they started feeling each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then it just
Hmm.
only grew and
I
grew,
think.
especially when Michael saw Matteo and Francesca. Oh, he
Hmm.
really lost it then. And he had the
Yeah.
conversation
He.
with his father,
You could tell that he
and his
really cared
father was
about
like,
her.
"Well, I can see, you know, uh, the pull that you
Hmm.
two have with each other, So,
I think that I think it was a true rom com, and I think that maybe we're not used to that anymore because if you're looking at most of the stuff that we can get on streaming, the first
yeah,
scene everybody's in bed. No, nobody. We
yeah.
don't know if these people like each other, know each other, have met before, nothing. Because we see the
Mm,
pan from the bottom of the
yep,
bed with two bodies moving in it. Like I think that because that is a lot of what we're being served, and to Yvonne's earlier point, that a lot of especially the younger generation doesn't have the same knowledge of what rom com era we lived in and what a true rom com was. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think we ever saw Harry and Sally together,
right, yeah,
That's true.
but we all
right.
consider when
I
Harry
don't
met
recall.
Sally.
That's true.
See, exactly. But we all consider with Harry Met Sally an amazing romantic movie, and it's all. But we never saw them together any kind of intimate scene of any kind except for the fake one, and but we still love that movie, and I think that might be part of it. The expectations of what relationships are has drastically changed, and I think that people who are used to like their real housewives type, no offense, but like fabricated relationships that move really fast and it's all about the physical aspects of the relationship don't actually
Right.
recognize what chemistry is anymore unless it's complete and unless it's the last piece of it, which is the physical part. And I think that brings me to my point, which is this was
Yes.
a classic rom-com and it had all of the formulaic kind of things, but in ways that were just a little bit
Yes.
that were new and fresh, right? But it had the setup, it had Which honestly, at the beginning, it was kind of hard to tell who was gonna fall in love because the setup at the beginning of her meeting
It
Mateo,
was very
I think
well
that was
done.
really well done to throw us
Yes,
off
it was very well
the
done.
path, right? And so I appreciated that. It was very well done because for a minute there, I was like, wait a minute, and then we had the misunderstanding. We had well, actually, first we had the meet cute with the little bit of drama about the
Yes.
sandwich. Then we had the getting to know each other. Then we had the misunderstanding. Then we had the fighting their feelings. Then we had the big reveal, and then we had the explosion, and not explosion, but we had the
Yes.
the
Right.
breakup, the distance, and
Right.
then we had the big moment at the end. Like I felt it was all the things you want in a rom com, but in ways that I hadn't seen before, and I felt like that was the fun part. I felt like seeing her. I also think that it was fun to see her character development by herself
Right.
because she met him, right? And because she was able to start to embrace parts of her that maybe she had not been embracing before when she was in New York and she was trying to live up to this standard and this ideal. And I felt like that was something that is that's the part of being romantic, is when you see two people
Yep.
see each other and aspire the best in each other, and then what happens after that. So I feel like it was like the perfect recipe for a rom com, and I think changing the setting to somewhere that we don't often see. It wasn't. I mean, it had its big city moments, but most of it was in the countryside. I think seeing her be her real like self and the kind of choices she was making along the way, I was like, girl, I could never. But I'm older now. I can't. I can't just. Yeah. I can't not know where I'm gonna lay my head when I get there.
Right?
Those days are over. I need to know where I'm gonna be. But I do. I think it was fun. I think they were fun together. I loved that the family dynamic also added to that levity. Marco Calvani, oh my goodness, I love him in Four Seasons. But to see him in this comedic role and get to really stretch in that space too was a lot of fun. I think he added the perfect kind of sidekick. I think they did a good job, and I think it was fun. And that's the calm part of a rom com. It was fun. And they were fun to look at. They were pretty. The scenery was great. And honestly, second to like Brown Sugar or maybe Waiting to Exhale, that
Yes.
soundtrack was
That
Yes.
fire.
soundtrack, was one of those layered elements in it, along with the comedic
Yeah.
acting, because some of those supporting characters,
Hmm.
I mean, they were really great. I figured that we'll be
Really.
talking about that a little bit more. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do want to hit on that, but before we leave the rom-com thing, Marcy said something that I totally agree with, in that this was textbook rom-com but done in a different way. I'm looking at all the tropes here, but they have a little bit original edge to them. Like, we have the fake engagement thing going on here, but then she's not going to end up with the guy she's
Yep.
engaged to. Usually that's what happens, but she's not really going to
Yep.
end up with him. And then we got the small town romance, but it's not the small Americana town that we know. It's Italian. So it feels for
Hmm.
us like a whole like foreign adventure, like road trip kind of thing, versus a small town romance, which is supposed to have all those familiar American-y things to make us comfortable, and
Hmm.
till we have kind of the enemies to lovers thing, or the outsider comes in kind of thing. But then Reggae John Page is also a little bit kind of an outsider as well, so they kind of get
Or
together,
or at least feels
and
that way. Yep.
blend on that. So it really has a lot of the things that we know and love about rom-coms, but it has just a
Hmm.
touch different spin on it. And I think that's what makes this really unique and really lovely. The other, I totally agree. The soundtrack is like, what? Are you kidding me?
Although I was disappointed because in one of the previews that I saw, they had Janet Jackson track, but there was no Janet Jackson track in the movie. So that was a little disappointing.
Oh,
I feel like these days they are making
yeah.
trailers out of the cuts on the floor, because we have said in a couple of other ones that stuff we thought we were going to see was never
Hmm.
in
Yeah,
the movie itself. And so that's why I stopped watching trailers, because it just got to
that's
be
the great point.
inaccurate and
That's a
boring.
great point
But I
that
think that might
it
be it.
could have been in there, and the scene that it was critical to was cut. So
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. I
Hmm.
agree. I think we either get the highlight things that are spoiling the movie for us, like the best scenes, or we're getting the cut scenes for continuity. Right.
Hmm. I was
Like
like,
what?
oh,
But
cut.
yeah,
Hmm.
let's talk about the cast of characters here that we just loved. First of all, I want to say that the whole ensemble, kind of the whole cast, was just, they played well together, it seemed like. They really played well together. But
Hmm.
I think the other thing that makes, and I'm just going to briefly say this before we talk about cast of characters because it just came back to my mind, is I think the reason why we like them together, and why I think us folk who have seen 90s rom-coms like the chemistry and know that there's chemistry between them, is because these leads are full leads. We know why
Hmm.
Michael is
Hmm.
got an English accent but is in Italy and been there for a while. We know and understand why Anna is hopping from place to place. These people have backstories. We see those backstories. Those
Hmm.
backstories have layers. I mean, we see aspirations
Yep.
that we haven't met yet in Anna. We see different dynamics between, especially when Mateo comes to town, between Mateo and Michael, as rival brothers per se. And we see with this cast of characters, they actually bring out even more of the layers of these two, which make us love these two even more because they're bringing it out. Like
okay.
the dad, who's the chef, who is now just like, I love Anna because she understands what we're doing here in the kitchen, and all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, y'all get into what you thought about the cast characters. Was there a favorite for y'all that you loved? I have my favorites. Was there a favorite, or did you just like the whole cast, or was there just some standout moments that you want to talk about? Marcy, what about you?
You know I love Marco Calvani. I think he was amazing as the cab
Lorenzo.
driver, the comic relief, but also the one
And
yeah,
Coochie,
Lorenzo as his character, to be like,
Right?
to be like, have you thought, have you? But he was still down for whatever. Like he was willing to say, "Are you sure?" But also, if you like it, I love it. I'm with you, and I think that kind of comic foil was great. I loved that they used her best friend through text as a part of the dynamic, because that's very now. That's very how life really is now. And to hear their messages to one another, I feel like I loved and enjoyed those because I thought it was funny. The family, I mean, everybody, the sister in law or the cousin who was
Yeah.
oh Francesca,
Francesca.
Francesca, the funny
Francesca,
sister-in-law. Yeah.
uh,
Francesca was
Luigi.
hilarious. the baby cousin who was
Uh-huh.
the
Enzo.
teenage cousin who was trying to
Yes.
help her out, Enzo. Like I think everybody, his father, Mateo's mom and dad,
Oh my
Oh
Nona.
gosh,
Like
yes.
yes.
Nona was hilarious.
She played
she
one.
played
She
she
said
played
one of
no
my
games, but she was
best
sniffing out for real.
favorite lines.
Oh, what do tell Miller?
What was
Near the
We already gave
after
a spoiler
everything
alert.
had popped off, and she was telling Anna, she was like, "You want to tap that? You can just tap it."
Yeah, right?
I mean, and she said it with
Uh huh.
conviction. It was
Yep.
She
like,
sure did.
Yep.
I mean, she was
She really
nonsense, but
did. She really
you
did.
didn't expect that to come out her mouth.
You did not. You did
It was
not.
so
And
unexpected and
maybe that's why
funny.
it was so funny. It's because she was and her face, and
Yes.
she would be so serious. Like her face would, like her delivery was
Amazing.
crazy, but her face would be like she sincerely felt that. I don't. I think everybody. I think as an ensemble
Yes.
cast, they were. I think you said it earlier. You could
Yeah.
tell they worked well together. Like it looked like they had a
Hmm.
good time doing this, and I think that showed in the camaraderie in those scenes and in what looked like genuine laughter between them. I also liked how much the countryside and the village
Oh,
played almost like a
yes.
third character, like an additional character in the story, and not just the setting, but it became part of it. The vineyard and the restaurant and what that meant to the family and what
Hmm.
cooking there meant to her. And I think I liked how they intertwined all of that into the storytelling, and I think it brought a depth that might not have been there. How well it just kind of played into the moments, and also, to be
Oh
honest,
my
I love the
gosh, the
tour
tour
group
group was hilarious.
that and the people
Yeah.
and the people on that Jeep, because those moments were hilarious. And so
Yeah.
there was definitely comedy, and I think
Yeah.
that they did both well, and they knew when to push one to the front or back. But yeah, I think everybody, again, I loved Hallie and Reggie together. Mateo came in and
Yes.
did what he needed to do. To be honest, he was right at the beginning. This is
Yes.
kind of crazy. I did not invite you here. That is not at all what I said. How did you hear that? I think he asked her at one point if she was okay. Like it was a
Yes.
fair question, because what he said and how she heard it, two different things. So I think, yeah, everybody was so good, but I will say that I loved Marco Cavani.
No,
What's the kid?
The father.
Lorenzo,
Luigi. Lorenzo.
Italian lift driver.
I loved him.
Yes.
The Italian lift driver. I loved
And
how
I
he
love the
always
name of
answered
his car,
phone.
Coochie.
How he was
Right.
always there.
Yes.
Right, Poochie. Yeah, yeah, and how that played into so many jokes. Yeah, I think it was great. Cast. It was. I feel like this
Yes,
people just slept on this
definitely.
Yeah.
movie.
People slept
It
on
was
it.
really cute.
For whatever reason,
Mhm.
they slept on it. But the play among the supporting cast, it was like they were a real family.
Mhm.
It was
Yes.
like they were a real family.
It was.
Agreed. Agreed.
It was.
And yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that comedy. What did we did did anything well, we already kind of talked a little bit about what stood out. Actually, I wanted to say a little bit about what stood out for me was was when Francesca was twerking.
Oh yes,
And when they were all like singing on the
that was another.
and they were supposed to be singing
Mhm.
all real loud and stuff and everything. That was so hilarious to me. But one quick note, I guess this was like an Easter egg for all y'all that slept on it. Do not just in the movie, please watch the rest of please watch at least
Right.
till the mid credits. Right? Because
Yes.
those outtakes
Mm.
of
Yep.
what Marcy was saying about the Jeep
Yep.
crew,
The hilarious
those things
outtake.
Yep.
are hilarious.
The, yes.
Those were
Those
just
were
hilarious.
hilarious.
I was just like, oh my gosh,
Those were
this was
hilarious.
so funny. This was just laugh out loud funny. And to me, this is, like we have been saying, a true rom com, because yes, it is focused on the
Hmm.
romance. That's the main plot. That's the whole reason that this movie exists, because of this romance happening. But the comedy is really what makes this movie shine. And I think too that's
Hmm.
also what a lot of maybe those folks who don't know what 90s rom-coms look like are also confused. So it's not just, hey, we're falling out of
Hmm.
bed in the first take and we don't know each other. Also, there's comedy. We
Yep.
should not come out of here weeping and crying. I have seen a lot of people talk about the best man, especially the best man holiday, being a romantic comedy. Y'all, that is not a
Mm-mm.
romantic
Yes, it
It
is.
is.
comedy.
That
That
is a
is a
drama.
trauma. And
It's
yes, it has a
that is a
lot of
drama.
relationships in it. And yes, the best man, the first one, it does center around a wedding, but the wedding is a setting
Yes.
so that relationships can play
Hmm.
out. And yes, some of these are love relationships, but this is not a rom com. Okay?
I would give Best Man a rom com because it was the truth. But I
Best
feel like
Man
after that,
Holiday is definitely
it's
not no
straight
rom
drama.
com.
No.
That Holiday is definitely, and then what was the Best
Yeah,
Man
yeah. The final
final chapter?
chapter, yeah,
None
that
of
was
that was
not. The,
none of that was
it's
a rom com.
relationship
That was no.
drama.
Mm-mm.
And yes, a lot of
Hmm.
these are love
Hmm.
relationships,
And it was
but it's
good.
relationship drama, right?
And maybe that's part of it. Is maybe that people are conditioned right now for that. Like I'm in readers groups where the people are like, I sobbed through the whole thing, and I, in my mind, I'm like, why would you want to do that? But maybe that's another part of what we're conditioned in now is that everything has to feel
To
Yeah.
look at it.
hard in order for it to be
Yeah.
engaging. And I feel like people just miss out on the good old days when we just used to watch a
Right.
movie for fun.
Right.
Hmm. Yep, there was a time when the whole point of the movie
Right.
Right.
was to be fun, not to break you down, not to scare you to death, not to take you down and through it, but just
Fun.
to have
Exactly.
fun.
Good old
Just a
escapism.
good old fashioned.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I left feeling better than I came in. I was lighter. The world seemed brighter. It was just a good time. And maybe that's what we've lost recently is people's understanding that that is still a thing. That the point of entertainment is for that experience in that space, because we don't, unless you're watching a children's movie, we don't always get that anymore. We're in the land of everything is so dark you
Hmm.
can't even see the film. And so I think when you get light, bright, fun, full of joy, fully formed people, I think maybe that people aren't don't know how to receive that because we've seen so much of the counter
Yeah.
for so many years that's the expectation of what
Yeah.
film.
And adding on to that point is, yes, people for some reason with the romance scene feel like they need to be going through emotions. So they've got the wrong idea there.
Hmm.
But B, they don't really exactly know what comedy is. And to your point, can just come out of it feeling good, feeling entertained. People are thinking comedy is, you know, cats getting decapitated by sunroofs, or or people getting pushed off the side of mountains, something horrible, because they've been
You
watching
right,
too much
right.
traumatic stuff on social
You
media
right.
and laughing about it, or people acting stupid and being laughed at, and that's
So,
going to
Right.
be comedy.
so Yvonne, you're
Hello.
saying
You're
that people have
right.
become desensitized to true romance?
I'm going to
Too strong.
you know, I don't think they've become desensitized to true romance, but I think for some, or even for us right now, I'm just going to even say for us right now, so much crazy is going on that we are not just desensitized to true romance, but we are desensitized to everything. Everything has to be
True.
HBO level extreme for us to feel
Mhm.
something. And I
And
think that
and
includes romance.
mhm.
But I also think that on the
Yeah.
other side of that, people do want an escape. And maybe
Mhm.
because all the crazy is going on, and maybe because the political stuff is going on, that this movie what what is. Oh
Which
my
is
gosh,
crazy because it was the
it was
perfect
so
escape. We
Right.
didn't
great.
talk about any of
It
that.
was
That's part
so
of the movie.
It
great.
was so. I mean, I felt
This
like
is the movie
it,
that
again. I was so. I went to
yes,
see it on a Sunday afternoon, and it was. I felt so
yes,
light
yes,
and bright, and I just thought about it. And so, Big Bang Theory
yes,
ended in 2019, and that was probably the last time in that era a lot of other
ended.
comedy shows ended, and what we had to replace it
Yes,
were different types of comedy, right? Like it's tied to, like maybe it's an
Okay.
Elspeth and it's tied
yes,
to
that's what I'm
a,
saying.
a serial drama or something else. But it's but anything but something that was for the
Right.
sake of being comedic. Like we still have the neighborhood, but Bob
Mhm.
Hart Abishola was ending. So there's a whole group of people who probably don't have very much experience of because again that same rom com era was also the
Yes,
sitcom
Yes.
era where we
yes.
actually where the
Yes.
point of the show was to
Right.
laugh and you're right the
It's
programming
not
that
that.
we see today is very different so if you're not accustomed to that presentation then I think you're right that a lot of people skipped over it because
Yeah,
they don't
right.
recognize
They
they don't
don't.
know what
And
comedy is they don't know what it means to
they don't.
just
And
be
then
to laugh.
it's very, as the young people say, this is the soft life, right? This is very soft life here. Like Marcy
Mhm.
was saying, a Sunday afternoon, go in and come out light and fluffy feeling. You just feel good because
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
escaped all this crazy on the news. You escaped all these people acting ridiculous on social media, and you actually saw something and
Mhm.
consumed something that was entertaining and light, and it felt good to your soul. And
Mhm. And you got to
yes,
root for this couple and see
Yes.
them win.
exactly.
Yes.
Like you got to root for this couple
Yes,
and see them win. And I think that that was part of it too. You got to
you did.
I was invested in how this was going to work out and whether she was going to tell the truth and what was
Right.
the family going to do when she did and when I thought that they had turned their back on her, I was devastated too for a minute. But then to see them all show up, I was like
You
those
were.
like you were invested in this thing and you could see it through to the end and be like, that is
Exactly.
exactly what I want to
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I mean, Millard, I guess that was a long way to answer your question, but short, but TLDR on it, as young folks say.
I'm not
I
young, so hey.
all of y'all out there, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all young folks, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Yes, we are desensitized, but we're not just desensitized to romance and comedy, as we're finding out. We are
Hmm.
desensitized to everything because so much is coming at us that people, for some reason, to feel something, need to feel it at a very extreme level right now.
Hmm.
But but
Hmm.
again, like I was saying, on the other side of that is people that want escapism, and the lack of marketing of this movie kept people from feeling that escapism.
Was it the
I,
only thing
you
about it?
know,
Yep.
because they didn't know.
Yep.
And it is
Hmm.
the best escape, y'all.
Yep.
If you
Hmm.
need an escape,
And I started
do
telling
please
everybody
watch
I
this movie.
knew, and they
Right.
had never heard of it. And I was telling people, yeah, I was telling couples, if you want a good
Yeah.
day night movie, I was telling my friends, if you want a good, like I was telling everybody I could, about this movie, because you're right. It was something that people needed to see because it was so cute. And that's why, Millard, I said earlier, I hope it gets that
Yeah.
resurgence in streaming. And I hope that people who are looking for like Valentine's Day binges or rom-coms, or who are looking to do a movie in the
Hmm.
backyard, this, I hope that people take this opportunity to stream it and to support it in some way, because
It was
people,
so
it
I
was
think
really
cute.
cute. It was really
Go
good.
ahead,
And I
Miller. You
I
think?
was going to say, I think that
Go ahead.
the platform that the free platform that it falls on is going to determine that.
I
Because some
agree.
of them, I think, will
Okay.
market the movie more than others. And if they market it and people see it, and then people are going to like it, and then be able to like tell their friends, and then get on social media. And although people have been saying whatever they've been saying about the movie, uh, but I think that will drive those numbers. And people that are making movies are going to go, oh, wait a minute, what do we sleep on here?
Mm-hmm. And I hope that's true. And I hope that that inspires more like it. But I do think that that begs the question: do we feel like it was the right venue for it? Do we feel like it, if it had gone directly to the streaming where everybody had access, do we feel like it would have been better
You know
received?
what? This is what I feel. I feel like
Okay, I could feel
it was, I think it was the right venue, but I think it was the wrong time because of a lot of what I think Millard is
uh
saying is true. Is that they were trying to sandwich this
mhm
in. Somebody said this about Wonder Man too. They were trying to sandwich Wonder Man in before they started doing a bunch of other stuff, but it's amazing in its platform, and
mhm
I think that theater wise, if it had stayed in the theater, I would have gone back to the theater to see it again. I totally would have,
I would have
because
gone. I would have taken somebody
with
with.
that whole,
Mhm.
just like you were saying, Marcy, with that whole feeling that you get out of theater, you also get that kind of focus with the theater that you don't get with home movies.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
where I
Yep.
think, by seeing this first with Millard, I love you. I love you. You're my bestie. But I also would have saw this again in the theater with my
Yeah.
girls. This is a perfect girls soft life kind of day movie kind of thing.
It makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think they were trying to
Mhm.
sandwich this in. And two, sometimes people, because they don't want to see certain people do well, try to push things in the worst possible way that they can do it. Hollywood has done worse, but I think sometimes they put movies into a certain bracket where it's like, okay, when they don't do well, they can say, "Oh, this movie did not do well. We're not going to do this again." And
Okay.
especially
Yep.
with kind of what I was talking about in the beginning about the whole, we're going to see how this does
Mhm.
before we give you the green light.
Yep.
And then you go and do this to the movie. But if this movie ended up not getting the numbers that it was supposed to get, I'm like, it was not because it wasn't a good movie. It was
Right.
because you
Right.
put it in a position to
Right.
fail.
Mhm.
But the second part, Marcy, of your question, there's a is, I do not feel that what they're doing now is the right venue. I think they should have let it stay in the theater.
Mhm.
After that, put it on whatever quote unquote free streaming subscription platform.
Right.
It should
Mhm.
go to,
It
and to
depends on where you get it
me,
from, but
even
yeah.
though it is a wonderful movie and a cute movie, that is blockbuster level marketing after the fact. That's what they do to big Marvel movies after they get out of the
Mhm.
theater.
Mhm.
They're like, yeah, let's make some more money on the other end by doing this for 24, 48 hours. You can watch it. The last day it's in the theater, you can watch it at home. That's what they do for
Mhm.
blockbuster movies.
Yep.
But
Like
they're doing that for
this.
Michael.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Even though Michael's still in the theaters, it
Yep.
hasn't hit Japan, which is they're thinking going to be one of its biggest
Oh,
markets yet.
it's gonna be. It's going
And
to be.
and next week people will be
Mhm.
able to purchase it and it for a fee at home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. See, and to me, that's warranted. But
definitely, definitely.
for this cute rom-com movie, the
Right.
audience is not going to go for that. Whatever subscription platform it goes to, it should have gone directly there instead of gone to this what it's in right now. So that is, yeah, that's
Mhm.
kind of, it's kind of a
I agree.
long way to answer your question, but
No, I mean I think it's a
yeah,
valid discussion. But I also think that the people come to hear what we think about the movie itself. So we got to get back to
All
the
right.
and
people,
on
places, and
that
things.
note, I want to know what y'all rate this movie, right? So, or
What's the
before we
rating?
do that, before we do that, is there anything that about the movie itself, like I was saying, about the movie itself, that we didn't mention that you wanted to mention?
Uh,
I liked that at the same time she was having her crisis of conscience, that Mateo was
Yeah.
also having his. And I liked that they didn't make her the sole deceiver of the family. And I liked that
Yes.
there was, that there was still some, that someone else also was part of that, because it didn't make her look like the bad guy alone. And I appreciated that we got to see that part of the story. I also think it help you feel even stronger about her triumphant
Yes.
moment in the kitchen and all that. But I like that they didn't make her the bad guy, the only bad guy. She wasn't the choice she made about the engagement didn't sit solely on her shoulders forever and make her look like the sole bad guy, the only one who had
Right.
misrepresented the truth. And so I think that I like that they didn't make her the villain alone,
Mhm.
even if she turns out to be, at the end everything turns out all right. I like that they had Material share that lift and be part
Definitely,
of that
since
part of the
Mateo
story.
was a bigger villain to me,
Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
right
Because he was lying to
because
everybody
he
about
Yeah.
knew
everything.
the situation because Isabella had called him to tell him what was
She
going on,
did.
why he came back.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he saw his family's reaction, he was
Mm-hmm.
like, "No, you can't tell them." And then he continued the ruse, and then
Yep.
Mm.
continued to like step out on her. And
Yep.
then now this is what irritated me about something that he said. He was like, "Well, we should make a go of this." Really? You know,
Right.
over here still having your
Right.
complicated relationship with Isabella, but you want to go ahead and marry Anna because Anna and the family have just bonded as family. They just embraced
Mm-hmm. Yep.
embraced her like she was one of the family already, more so than him. He was
They
the
did.
outsider trying to like get in, but it was all his fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it stems from jealousy
It was.
from Michael.
Oh yes.
You know,
That's
well,
obvious.
that was
Yep.
part of it.
For
There's
sure.
other underlying things,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, but uh, I wanted to
Right.
throw that in there.
Miller, did you? I was
I
gonna
we
ask if
we
you
said
had
a,
something else that you thought that we didn't bring out, because I think you were about to say something.
One other element that I thought was really good of how the writers put this in here, with her being having initially wanted to be a chef, and because of her mother's situation, whatever, and she couldn't cook again, and then they created the situation where she was I'm not gonna say forced, but kind of pushed back into the kitchen, and she found her love
Mhm.
again for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when Vincenzo came in and he tasted it, and he basically said, "Well, I'm going to call it the Italiana," after her. And I thought
Yeah.
that was really, again, I
Mhm.
mentioned at the beginning, it was a cute movie, and it had all those little cute parts in there like that I thought was really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Marcy, you were gonna say something.
Yep, that was good. Now, I was gonna say we said a lot of good things, but I'm gonna be honest. I could have done without the barrel rolls.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Somebody was gonna
I could
say
have done without the entire,
about
the
what they
whole
didn't like.
scene. So I could. That was the one scene where I was like, I mean, I could have done without that. That was the only scene where I was like, if this wasn't here, the movie would still work. That's the only time that I really thought that,
Yes.
and I know what it was trying to portray, but somewhere in the middle, I was just like, what in the world, and when is this over? That was the only part where I felt like that. But I do feel like it's worth mentioning that when you get to that scene,
I really like the scene.
we
Yeah.
know, we all know.
Yes.
Really?
And I'll tell you the reason I liked it.
I thought
It's
it was.
Okay.
although
I
they had mentioned about the friction with the
okay.
brothers, and you saw the friction with them, is that this really intensified the friction until the moment where they actually fought. And this is where, like at the very
Okay.
end, when like he
Okay.
shoved Michael and all of that, and in his family's face, well, the whole community's, and that was, I thought it was a good element, kind of like showcase
Okay.
their dysfunction.
I can respect that perspective.
So, Millard, was there something that you didn't like about this? Was there anything that you thought done
Nothing.
without?
I'm not going to say I didn't like, but I'd like to have seen some more Claire, the best friend. She had some hilarious parts,
Mm-hmm.
even whether it was through
She did.
the phone or through text or whatever. I thought that her character added a lot to it, but the movie could only be so long. So, but that was something. I'm trying to think of something that. Yvonne, you go ahead and say yours and let me think about that for a minute. Because again, I wasn't expecting anything, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a light, fun movie, and I didn't see anything that was kind of just so jarring or whatever. Like I was
Yeah.
telling you when I went to go see Is God Is, and now that's
Buckle
a
your
discussion
seatbelts
we
for
should
that
have.
one, y'all. But it's
That's a
neither nerdy
discussion we
nor
should have.
romantic, so
Right.
that's not gonna be on this podcast. But Millard, I'm gonna steal one of what you said
Here, go
after
ahead.
we
It's all
watched
yours.
it. Okay. The one thing, and I'm just gonna say I agree with Millard after we watched it. So this is what Millard said after we watched it was I don't think that Mateo at the very end, when everybody came together after Nona said what she said, and everybody was like, "We love Anna," at the end, that Mateo would have turned like that to
So
be as
quickly.
much. Yeah, that was it. Was definitely rom commy, and you had to suspend belief, which you have to do sometimes for rom coms, but it was also like, oh, that was a little cringe. Where everything else that we're watching, maybe aside from the barrel race, according to Marcy, was original and we could possibly see it happening, right? Him
Mm-hmm.
just kind of getting over everything and being like, "Yay, we love Anna" with everybody else was a little bit too like, that's very rom commy. That's kind of cringy a little bit.
Well,
But
after seeing the
it
movie,
was,
well,
I
after
don't
seeing
know.
it
I
a
think.
second time, I understand why the
you get
writers
it.
did it. They didn't do it for that. They did it because
Mm-hmm.
he had that reconciliation with his father. That's
Yeah.
why they did it, to kind of like make
And that was,
everybody's story happy,
yeah.
happily ever after
And
type of
that was
movie.
the only way that
Right.
works, which
Yes.
is why it's not like I don't like this. It's more like, okay, you did that fast. but he had reconciled with his father, which is that's the biggest thing for Mateo, in my opinion. That's the biggest lift for him. That's the biggest part of his, oh gosh, Marcy had just said it, a transition or crisis moment in his life. That's his
Okay.
thing that he has to get over, is his father thing. So now that we've thoroughly gone over this, y'all, and maybe talked a little bit more about some things outside of the movie versus inside of the movie than we usually do, let's talk about what we would rate the movie itself.
Give me the
So,
scale.
Miller, you got to go first. And yes, there is a scale since you asked.
Okay.
So, if this is your first review from Nerdy Romantics, we use a 5-star rating here. And that is taken from Goodreads, which, like I always say, this is supposed to be a book podcast, which is why we took the rating from Goodreads. So
Okay.
the 5-star rating is as follows: 1 star, we did not like it. 2 stars, it was okay. 3 stars, we liked it. 4 stars, we really liked it. And 5 stars, it was amazing. And unlike Goodreads, you can rate in partially in the middle between those. So, Millard, what is your star rating and why?
I think that I'm going to give it, I was thinking a 3.75, but I think I'm going to bump it up to a 4. And I'm
All
going to bump it up
right.
to a 4 because, again, this is for me like a classic rom com. It had all of the elements. It had the the characters, the supporting characters were like really good, and I thought they meshed really well. The scenes, the scenery was like lush and really wonderful. I find the chemistry between the leads as good, and it developed as the movie went on. So I would give it a solid 4.
All right. Marcy, what about you? What is your rating and why?
I would give it a 4.5. I probably would have given it a 5 if not for that barrel race. I think it was seriously. I think it was well done. I think the cast was great. I think the soundtrack was amazing. I think it was exactly what they said it would be. I think they delivered on the promise that was made in the posters and in the interviews. I think that it's something that I will watch again. When it comes to streaming, I'll watch it. I'll continue to recommend it to streaming. I'm not paying $20. I think that's outrageous. But I'll watch it and keep the numbers up because I think it was fun. It was exactly what I was looking for. I think they delivered well. I think the timing of the comedic timing, their chemistry, how well everybody played together. To Miller's point, the scenery was beautiful. It was escapism at its best and brightest, and I think that people should watch it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with all of that. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 as well. I really liked it. I really liked it, and yes, I will watch it again when it comes on subscription streaming, wherever that is. Hopefully, I will have that subscription so I can watch it. If you've been following, you know where I am in my life right now. But one thing that I will say that I also liked about it that we haven't mentioned is the actual food. Y'all, I was hungry after I came out of that movie. That food looked good.
Hmm. It did. I
I
hope
hope
that
so
they
too.
ate that food.
I hope they ate and
I hope it
enjoyed
wasn't
it.
just a prop. I
Oh,
hope
That was
somebody
the
ate
first
that
time
food.
that I've ever
Yep.
seen bread, tomato, and garlic look so great.
exactly. Yes.
Mhm.
I'm like
Mhm.
all my favorite
Yes.
things together, and it looks gorgeous too. I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
And talking
Michael,
about the
if you
food.
don't get with her, I'm gonna get with her because I just want to eat. I just want that bruschetta. Like, come on,
Exactly.
that food
I want to
was
eat.
amazing,
Mm-hmm.
y'all. Oh gosh, it was amazing.
Yep.
But again, about my rating, yes, for all of the reasons that we've said here, this is just a cute movie. It is textbook rom com, and it has a layer of originality that when you go in, you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, oh, rom com. And two, what Millard was saying about the rom com, about the rating of it, which I don't know if it's PG or PG 13, I can't remember. But when you hear rom com and you hear PG rating, the first thing people think of is they think of Hallmark and Dismiss. And y'all, this ain't no Hallmark movie, right? So don't go in thinking it. Thank you.
It's PG-13.
And
Yeah,
it
13.
ain't your typical rom com. It's very much for those who love rom coms and remember them from the 90s and the 2000s and remember those feel good moments from sitcoms and things of that nature. You will love this, but you will
Mm-hmm.
also feel that originality. You'll want to know where it goes. So, on that note, y'all, this was so fun to talk about. I'm so glad we got to talk about
Mm-hmm.
this movie. And I'm so glad that you were able to come on, Marcy and Miller, that you were both able to come on and talk about it with me. Thank
Thank you
you.
for inviting me.
Thank you for having us. Mm-hmm.
Hi. Want to get show notes from this and future episodes in your inbox? Then subscribe to Nerdy Romantics newsletter at nerdyromanticspodcast.com/subscribe. Nerdy Romantics newsletter not only has show notes, but nerdy and romantic recs and sneak peeks and exclusives of my spicy nerdy romances and love stories. I love talking sci fi, superheroes, fantasy, and romance books, movies, and shows with my friends. So share this podcast with your nerdy romantic friends. Thanks for listening and for watching.